Hey all, just a really quick reminder that this episode has been split into several different segments. And so if you have not heard part one of our episode on samples in Earthbound music, you might want to check that one out first. The other parts, the other segments can be listened to really kind of in any order you'd like. But without part one, you might not know exactly what's going on here. So without further ado, let's get on with it. Okay, so the last couple of these that I want to look at, the first one is one of the more complicated ones, actually. It's it's become one of the more famous ones just because of what they're doing in this song. The tune is called Boris Cocktail, and it's the music that's playing in a bar. So you know it's pretty clear what's going on there. So, like in a lot of the other tunes, we're using our sample here to provide the background to the actual song. What they're pulling from is the song Good Old Days, which is like the theme song for the old TV show called Little Rascals. Now, Little Rascals was like this very early television show about a group of kids and their misadventures, and so it's kind of in a couple of ways just the perfect sample to pull for this record, because, and first of all, it's quintessentially American. It's one of those, kind of cultural phenomenons for its time and its place that really helped define an era. That era being, coming into the 30s and 40s and moving forward from there. And so this is something, cause the game Earthbound pulls a lot from the 50s, especially. And it pulls a lot from stuff that's later as well. And so, it is kind of a mishmash of time, but the general feel of the game is a rather 50s and 60s look at America. And even though Little Rascals was not, new at the time, this is part of, kind of the American experience at the time. And I remember growing up considerably later than that in the 80s, and everyone knew this music, and everyone knew Little Rascals. This was just something that was part of our past and part of our culture, and it had bled through even through the decades into the 80s. And I don't feel like as many people know this show anymore, but it was such a kind of a defining aspect of American culture at the time that is just perfect for this game. And the fact that it's a group of kids, and their kind of misadventures, through town, which is what this game is. Now, this game twists it, where there's really a dark force underground that Little Rascals didn't have. But it's a very much a Little Rascals thing that you have, a guy in a baseball cap and a bat, wandering through town trying to set things right. And so this was, for those of us even growing up in the 80s, this was something that was recognizable. And what this game does constantly is it takes those things that are recognizable and twists them and distorts them, and as a symbol for a musical reinforcement of the theme that Gigas has really corrupted the things that are wonderful and good. And so we're gonna play. Let's play just a little bit of the Little Rascals theme. This song that is called "Good Old Days," and we'll play it right here. Okay, going to jump right in to Boris Cocktail, and you're going to hear it like at the beginning before any of the other instruments come in. You're going to hear this being looped around, and it really has that kind of feel of an old turntable, of an actual record on it. Just skipping back and just repeating the same part over and over again. And so let's check that out. Okay, so you notice as the actual song starts and the instruments come in, that what we're doing is we're laying down just kind of this the background tone of the song that's being played over. And so this theme song almost becomes like the keyboard is laying down some pads in the background. But you might have noticed already there's something else going on in there. And it's hidden underneath. It actually starts when all the instruments come in, and you're going to hear this kind of synthy type of a sound, an old fashioned type of a synth sound, but something that you might have heard coming out of an old phonograph or something, but in the background underneath this riff that's being played over the top. And what they're playing is the Star Spangled Banner. And it's really tough to tell in the first couple of measures, but I'm actually going to start it right where the band comes in, so that you can hear it. In the first measure, it's really deep underneath, but then when it gets to the "by the dawn's early light," that part, you're going to hear it really start coming into the foreground. And if you just follow that tone, you're going to hear the rest of the song. So here we have the most quintessentially American tune in the entire piece. Not only are we playing the theme song to something that is so culturally American and so definingly so, then we're also gonna even play the Star Spangled Banner along with it, and keep that right over right underneath the main song. And this is what I mean, this is coming back to that same thing of things being shifted, things being distorted. And they're doing these things to reinforce the American identity of this game, that this game really is like, the Japanese looking at American culture and then putting it into a Japanese game. And so, getting it all twisted up and exaggerated and everything that, will happen when you have that kind of degree of separation, but in a very, very funny and interesting way. But also that distortion, that corruption that we're seeing throughout the game, the things that Ness and his friends are attempting to make right. And eventually they do. And we're I hope to have an episode where we go kind of into the end some, but the song that's playing kind of at the end is as straightforward of just a sentimental, beautiful pop song as this game gives us. And when you've reached that point, there's, and also keeping in mind, it's like, for those who've played the game, this, the further you get into the game, the more just kind of sci-fi hums you get, that the music just starts fading in the background. And instead you just get the whine of computers and machinery and alien machinery. And so you've gotten so much of that getting to the end. And then the Gigas fight is just so epic. And there's actually several different themes that happen through that single battle. But then you get to the end and you get this song called Smiles and Tears. And it's like everything has been made right. And you actually, when you finish the game, you could actually walk around anywhere you want. It doesn't go to it doesn't go to like a cutscene or something. There are cutscenes in it, but it doesn't go to the cut. You can go wherever you want. And so you can end the game right away, or you can go talk to people, and they've changed what they say, and they talk to you about what you've done. And it's just like this really powerful end that you've made a difference, not just to the world, but to these individual people. And you get to the end of this song, and that's the whole thing. The Smiles and Tears is just so lovely and soothing and sentimental, and there's a bit of longing in there. And you finally go home because you're a kid. You go home to your mom and your dad and your sister, and that's where it ends. But there's this sample at the end of Smiles and Tears when, all the instruments cut out, and we get, I'll play you the last segment of the song and just listen for it. And so, if you're in the car, I'll tell you what is said in it, but because it might be a little difficult to hear. We are dealing with Super Nintendo technology, remember? But I'm going to play this last segment, and then when we come out of it, we're going to talk about it a little bit more.
Miss you.
So if you missed that, what was said is, I miss you. And just for, the sake of trivia, the person who said it is the creator of the whole Mother series, the genius behind these games, Shigesato Itoi. And Itoi is, Itoi is legendary because of this series, and he's just this hysterical guy, but also very thoughtful, and it just really understands how to get to kind of the heart of the matter, and so that's him saying that. That's been a running thing of the game too. There's occasionally, because you have, as the player character, you have the ability to call home during the game, and you are a child. You are a child in this game, and so if you don't talk to your mother, after a while you start getting homesick, and it affects you in battle. And so you go and you talk to your mom to kind of give you strength. And then all of this is over, and you're going back home. And despite the fact that you've changed the world, despite the fact that you've saved the world, despite the fact that you've taken all of this stuff that's been distorted and twisted and set it right, you're still just a little boy coming home to his mother, and you go through the door and you say, I miss you. And it's this shocking moment because there was so little voice acting in video games in this time in history, right? This stuff that didn't happen almost at all. And normally when it did, it was just very prominent, like, in Mortal Kombat when they finish him or something like that. It's very, very prominent. But this game has made you play, 20, 30 plus hours of this. And you reach home, and then this voice says, comes out and says this. And it's just this wonderfully shocking moment that is ridiculously powerful as the whole end of the game. And stay tuned. We are going to do an episode on just the whole end of the game. It really is just, taking the emotional power of video games to a new level. And this is part of it. And it just for a moment makes you feel, what it's like to be that kid who's coming home for the first time in a long time and just misses his family. And so with that final word from Itoi himself, we are going to say goodbye to samples in Earthbound. I did not cover them all. I don't think I covered even half of them or so. But it's one of these elements that make this soundtrack just really so interesting. So thank you so much for checking us out. Thank you for listening. Keeping in mind, for everyone, do check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/technofunkboy. We are on a monthly basis giving out a new track from our upcoming Mega Man 3 cover album, and having a lot of fun with that. They're coming out really, really great, and so I want you to be able to take advantage of that. Go check that out there. And in the otherwise, do check out our Discord server. We've been having a lot of fun there, having some lively discussions on a number of topics, and so check us out and get involved in that. And otherwise, we will catch you next time.
The Retro Zoo Super Show is brought to you by the Techno Funk Boy. Follow us on Twitter at Techno Funk Boy, on Facebook at the Techno Funk Boy, and sign up for our email list at technofunkboy.com. Also look for us on Spotify, iTunes, and Amazon for music. If you are so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating and review on your favorite podcast catcher. If you are not so inclined, you are obviously some sort of villain trying to conquer the world. Unowned music and gameplay clips are used for educational and critical purposes. Thank you for listening, keep gaming, and once you have responsibilities that need to be done at this time, then you can game later.